Hey guys, let's talk about the Mount Ruang volcano eruption in Indonesia because that one has caused quite the disturbance and it's a quite impressive one. So right now, over 9,000 people have been evacuated because of this eruption or are in the process of being evacuated. Over 4,000 homes have been burned by this volcano. So the Indonesian government is evacuating, to be exact, 9,083 residents from the Tagulandang Island. That's an island that is near Mount Ruang in the province of North Sulawesi, and they need to get these people to safer areas. You can see here on that map where that area is located, where they're evacuating from. And the Natural Disaster Management Agency of Indonesia, you'll see it more often in the news, the shortcut for them is BNPB. Their head of operations has said that 3,364 residents have already been relocated and the remaining 5,719 residents are currently being evacuated in stages. So they're saying that this evacuation process started to take place April 30th to May 2nd, and that they expect that it'll take approximately 1 or 2 more days so that it would be completed. So the island that they're evacuating, Tagulandang Island, it's right adjacent to Ruang Island where we have that massive volcanic eruption. So, and that Mount Ruang is basically standing alone on that island. That mountain is the island, so to speak. The residents were transported with ships, of course, they had to. It's an island where they evacuated from. And it was various private and government agencies, but also military and customs boat and also rescue agencies. So they have put up about 5 temporary shelters on nearby islands like Mandao or Siau. So to put these people somewhere so that they at least in a safe range from that volcano. Why did they evacuate? This evacuation of Tagulandang Island has followed after an advice was given from the Center of Volcanology and Geological Disaster Mitigation in response to the identification of a risk zone, a radius risk zone that it has a radius of 7 kilometers of the Mount Ruang crater. So they said, get people out of that area, which makes sense, guys, right? If you see how high and how massive this volcano is spitting out its stuff, and you see here behind me, it does definitely make sense. So the head of this agency has said that stratovolcanoes like Mount Ruang historically emit hot clouds and they undergo frequent eruptions, and that of course is directly impacting human life and their livelihoods. So these hot clouds, if you're too near and that rains down on you, that is definitely not good, as you might be able to imagine. So Mount Ruang is 725 meters high, and there are records about eruptions from this crater. So they're dating back till 1808, and there were notable eruptions in 1878, for example, and that has triggered a tsunami wave that has claimed 400 lives because they were worried if part of the island or that crater breaks and then falls into the ocean, that will trigger that tsunami. And of course, that risk is also present right now. They have initiated these additional evacuations because there is a risk of further volcanic eruptions, and that's why they're expanding their measures. So this Ruang volcano has already erupted twice in the second half of April, not once, twice. And it has produced high rising ash clouds and pyroclastic flows. So the 2 settlements on that island, on Ruang Island, were severely affected. And you can see here the house, it's basically turned into ashes. The damage is particularly severe in a village that's called Laingpatehi. I hope I pronounced that right. And it was hit by hot gases from one of these pyroclastic flows, and that has caused fires. So in addition to ash deposits that have rained down on these homes and villages, and the bombardment with pyroclastics like volcanic materials, tiny particles, it has caused the roofs to collapse because it weighs a lot. Thankfully, shortly before the eruptions started, the residents were evacuated. And so far we can say, thankfully, that no one has been hurt so far. So the result of the second eruption that we have seen on April 30th, the exclusion zone around the crater, as we just said, was extended to around 7 kilometers, so a 7-kilometer radius around that volcano. And that's why the residents on the southwest coast of the neighboring island of Tagulandang also now live in the danger zone, and of course they have to be evacuated so that they can be in safety. They're also particularly threatened by these pyroclastic flows, and they can travel long distances across the sea. So there's also fears that the tsunamis could arise as a result of multiple landslides from that crater. So now the government needs to figure out where they will put all these people. So they're planning permanent measures to relocate residential areas to safer locations. So they're not planning to bring people back into these danger zones, and specifically on Ruang Island. The Indonesian disaster management will definitely help in the resettlement process for the residents. And they say that they will soon discuss this evacuation resettlement process at the ministerial level. And the forced relocation primarily affects 301 families from 2 villages that were located at the foot of that volcanic crater in Mount Ruang. We know that eruptions that we have here, we know this from other volcanoes, that these eruptions often occur in phases. So not one big one and then it's quiet for decades, centuries, or whatever, in phases. So that's why it is very likely that there will be further eruptions in the next few weeks or month. So far, there has been an interval of only 13 days between the 2 April eruptions. So we have to see how this turns out, guys. I just wanted to give you a quick update about that. There will be another update today about Iceland. There's something happening as well, so stay tuned. If you're new here, I would be so happy if you could subscribe so that we see each other more often on my channel here. And for the ones that I see more often, thank you for being on the pulse with me, and thanks for your support, guys. And leave this video a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.